You shouldn't be frightened of me, Mr. Man. I'm just a clown. Find Golden Mavenchild!
Hey everyone, the remake of Stephen King's It comes out in less than a month, and so I think that this would be a good time to talk about something that I feel very strongly about. Scary clowns. I have an interesting relationship with clowns in the sense that I find them to be really fascinating, yet they also scare the daylights out of me. And for this reason, we're going to be counting down the top 6 scariest clowns from my childhood. Now please note that I said my childhood. There are plenty of scary horror movie clowns out there, but these are ones that are in media generally appropriate for kids, hence why they scared me as a child. So yeah, the clown doll from Poltergeist is the thing of nightmares, but I didn't watch it as a kid, so it doesn't count for this list.
Are you still scared of clowns? Yeah.
Number 6. Dats from The Secret Life of Toys. If you don't remember The Secret Life of Toys, I can't really blame you. It was a good show, but it was short-lived and is all but forgotten today. The TV special it's based on, The Christmas Toy, is a little less obscure, however. The Secret Life of Toys was a Muppet series in the vein of Toy Story, predating it even, about a group of toys who live in a playroom and have cute adventures. Except that one time when mummies invade the playroom, that was weird. One of them is a clown named Ditz, who is about as bright as the name implies. I had a tape of one episode called Ditz and Dats, where the kids who play in the toy room make a creepy paper bag clown and name it Dats, deciding it's Ditz's brother. When they leave, Ditz tries to talk to the lifeless bag, not understanding that this isn't his actual brother, and then the bag disturbingly comes to life. He's technically a toy at this point, after all. Of course, Dats would rather take over the playroom and trap the others outside, dooming them to be frozen forever if they're found outside of their set places. Yes, that was a plot point of the original Christmas special. Ditz is forced to take a stand and learns the valuable lesson of never trusting a paper bag. Dats is the least scary clown on the list, but he still made me feel very uncomfortable as a child. The way his grin clashes with his lopsided eyes, and his bullying nature were quite unsettling to me, not to mention that even the other characters acknowledge that he's surprisingly intimidating for a recyclable lunch bag. He also gets a creepy-ass duet with Ditz, where he swears to love and protect his brother, before immediately breaking the promises, to the surprise of no one but Ditz. No lie, this song was stuck in my head for years and still pops up every now and then.
Oh, you're my brother, a true blue brother. Oh, you're my brother, a true blue brother.
His performer, Jerry Nelson, was a great Muppeteer, responsible for countless classic characters. Ooh, alliteration. It's weird to say that Dats is a testament to his talent, but he kinda was. The fact he took a one-episode antagonist and gave him such a slimy personality is pretty impressive. Number 5. The Clown with the Tearaway Face from The Nightmare Before Christmas. The Nightmare Before Christmas is the perfect November film, smack dab between Halloween and Christmas. Maybe we should start watching this every Thanksgiving. Well, anyway, while most of the Halloween Town residents are actually pretty decent people/creatures in their own rights, in fact, you could count the truly malicious ones on one hand, that doesn't stop them from being scary. Of course, that's the whole point of them. They're scary and they're proud. And this clown takes the cake, even one-upping the main villain, Oogie Boogie. The opening of this movie is perfect in setting the tone. Increasingly spooky monsters entice the kids and kids at heart in the audience to see something strange and don't fail to deliver. The surreal monster under the stairs and the one under the bed who might actually be too horrifying to see in proper light are certainly spooky. But the shrill clown who comes out of nowhere and rips off his face for fun? That's just terrifying. The clown is voiced by Danny Elfman, who also voiced Beryl the Trick-or-Treater and provided the singing voice for our anti-hero Jack Skellington. Oh, and he, wrote the entire score for the movie. Elfman is a great voice actor, really bringing it home with the unhinged clown's vocals. Yes, the clown has barely any notable screen time after this, appearing mostly in crowd scenes, but I remember being pretty nervous while watching the This Is Halloween sequence as a kid. Even when you knew he was coming, he was still scary. Number 4. Clown Bed, from The Simpsons. Most of these entries are from when I was pretty young. Obviously, I had to be a little older when I was watching The Simpsons. And in the otherwise hilarious Lisa's First Word episode, Homer builds Bart a clown bed. It makes sense, Bart likes Krusty the Clown, right? Of course, Homer ends up making the world's most unintentionally creepy bed instead, and Bart is reduced to a sleepless wreck. Watching the scene today, it's actually pretty amusing, but when I was younger, especially seeing this for the first time in a comedy show, it was a rather surprising scare. For a few moments, you're just as afraid as Bart is. His mantra of "can't sleep, clown will eat me" has become something of a meme recently, and I can see why. Like I said earlier, clowns are frightening creatures. Number 3. Clown Doctors, from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. We are back in Tim Burton territory here. Pee-wee's Big Adventure was Burton's first feature film, and it's a downright hoot. There's a great balance between surreal comedy and uncanny valley creepiness that runs throughout the movie, and there does seem to be a minor clown motif. Not only do we have the wacky circus-type music provided by Danny Elfman, we are also back in Danny Elfman territory, which is very close to Tim Burton territory, you see, but we also have a friendly-looking clown statue that Pee Wee Herman chains his beloved bike to early on in the story. Once his bike is stolen, kicking off the main plot, the clown looks down at Pee Wee with a suddenly evil grin and disembodied laughter. I'm sure the joke here is that we're seeing things from Pee Wee's panicked point of view, but I like the idea that the guy who was hired to steal the bike also stayed behind to paint the mocking expression on the statue. Of course, if this was just about the statue, I don't know if the movie would have a place on the list. No, the true horror begins after Pee Wee gets in a motorcycle accident and is rushed to the hospital. A deleted scene would have shown a doctor telling Pee Wee that he's just suffering from depression, and that he should smile more. I don't know if that's how depression works. Pee Wee's new biker friends drop by with gifts, one of which is a clown keychain. This is nice foreshadowing for the next sequence, which did not get cut from the film, to the dismay of everyone who ever feared a clown at midnight. After a little bit of his good friend Mr. Morphine, Pee Wee dreams that a team of clown doctors begin to operate on his beloved bicycle, still missing in action. While a lot of people are already afraid of hospitals, the fact they've combined them with clowns makes it a true mix of horror. Worst of all is the seemingly normal head surgeon who rips off his mask to reveal a huge painted grin. He's the guy who told Pee Wee to smile more, after all. After that, the bike is dumped in a flaming cauldron surrounded by demons. Somehow, the nightmare is less scary at this point when the clowns leave. These clowns manage to outscary the movie's portrayal of the legions of hell. That's some feat. Number 2, Nightmare Clown from the Brave Little Toaster. If you know me, you know that the Brave Little Toaster is my life. I could probably go on for a much longer than necessary length of time about how important this movie is to me, but I'm going to stay on topic here and address the main reason anyone was scared of this film as a kid. Well, next to the air conditioner having a meltdown and the disco-sounding musical number where dozens singing cars are smashed to death. In the movie, a group of appliances set off to find their old owner, the Master, whose family abandoned them in an isolated summer cottage. About halfway through, the toaster leading the expedition has a nightmare in which it malfunctions in front of the Master, sending smoke everywhere, indicating that the toaster isn't always as confident as the title implies. Well, where there's smoke, there's fire, and who better to put it out than an evil firefighter clown? Of course, the water and electricity don't mix, and the nightmare ends with the worst place in the world for a toaster, the bathtub. Despite the clown literally only having 6 seconds of screen time, I counted, he really affected me and presumably many others. He comes straight out of nowhere, unlike the build-up to the clown doctors in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I remember having to run out of the room when I was really little seeing this movie. Eventually, there was a long period where I stopped watching it, not even remembering what was in Toaster's nightmare that scared me so much. I just remembered some unmistakable terror. When my curiosity for the movie re-emerged, I went online to find out, what scared me so much. Someone mentioned a fireman clown, and those repressed memories flooded back. Thankfully, I was able to rewatch and appreciate the movie afterwards, though the first time I saw that clown again, I'll admit I got a few chills. Number 1, a tie between Zeebo the Clown and the Crimson Clown, both from Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark was an enormous part of my childhood, and probably one of the things that got me into horror movies later on down the road. The subtle, ominous intro is still actually quite unnerving. If you're ever talking to a kid of the 90s about nostalgic TV shows, this one usually comes up pretty quickly. Now, several of the clowns I've talked about here have had small cameos in their respected movies and series. These two clowns, however, are the stars of their episodes. There was another clown on the show, a jester called the Ghastly Grinner, who was pretty freaky, but he didn't disturb me as much as the other two, mostly because he was more of an homage tribute to the Joker, and his episode was more action-based than scare-based. First up is Zeebo the Clown, who appeared in the episode Laughing in the Dark. This episode is often regarded as one of the best stories featured on the show. The fact that it was the second episode to air helped too, as it really set the standard of what was to follow. In this story, a rather snotty kid named Josh is dared to enter a supposedly haunted spook house at a theme park and steal the nose of Zeebo the Clown, who is not only a figure at the end of the attraction, but also the ghost haunting in the first place. The build-up to Zeebo is great. We get some creepy yet low-budget animatronics and a really unsafe-looking dragon that actually breathes fire. Okay? And then out comes Zeebo, emerging from his door and towering over the kid. Josh snatches the nose and brags to his friends, but Zeebo begins to stalk him shortly afterward. Brilliantly, we never actually see Zeebo menacing the kid. He's almost always just off-screen. It's the kind of thing where they could have easily shown the charred clown corpse, but instead they chose not to. Instead of coming off as lazy, it's actually a great move because it leaves it to our imagination. Unlike some movies, it actually works this time. Josh somehow manages to snag a box of cigars, which were Zeebo's favorite treat, and the cause of his original death, and gives Zeebo the smokes and his nose back as a peace offering. Zeebo appears pleased with this gesture and lets the kid off the hook. If anything, torturing this brat has been the most fun Zeebo's probably had in a while. The next clown isn't as agreeable, although his victim is somehow even more of a little jerk than Zeebo's nose snatcher. A little brat by the name of Sam delights in making his brother's life miserable and playing victim to their oblivious mother when his big bro calls him out on his nastiness. At an antique store, Sam steals his brother's money meant for a birthday gift for their mom. The brother notices a creepy clown doll and spins a yarn that the Crimson Clown will get Sam if he keeps being a bad kid. Of course, the clown begins showing up to Sam in his own house that night, disappearing when anyone else enters the room. Sam is a paranoid wreck by bedtime, and we are then treated to a nightmare sequence that reads like Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol on crack. Repent, Scrooge, or a clown will tie you to your bed and do weird stuff under your covers. I wish I was joking about that last part. How did no one catch how disturbing that was? The clown's costume grows increasingly scary each time it appears, and Sam is reduced to a quivering mess. The clown takes mercy on him and somehow restores the gift that Sam screwed up, and all is well except for the therapy bills for the kids watching the show who are now convinced that a boogeyman clown will emerge from their closet if they take one step out of line. What, I can't be the only one who was screwed up by this episode. I really hope I'm not. Well, out of the two, Zeebo is the better loved clown, and it makes sense because he did have the better episode. The Crimson Clown, however, was my personal scariest episode pick for the series because, as I just said, it really did a number on me. It was one of those few episodes that I made a point of never watching in reruns, and only fairly recently did I check it out again. Well, it's the kind of thing that probably wouldn't scare me now, if I was watching it for the first time. The fact that I had such a deep-rooted emotional response to it as a child ranks the Crimson Clown as the #1 scariest clown from my childhood.
When you want to scream, put away that frown and never be scared of a clown. Laugh on, laugh on, laugh on and on and on. You'll never laugh alone. Out, clown!